Hi, welcome to another workout at the Mind Body Reset Gym. Today we're going to talk about something that's a relatively new concept. It's called food elation. We've talked about food addiction, and we know that we just sometimes love food. It gives us happiness and joy. We're not eating out of stress or anything like that. We just love it. We just love food or a certain kind of food. And that feeling is called food elation. It makes us elated. And that's even a higher level of happiness than just happiness. So this is elation. And sometimes that creates a problem for us when it takes over our better judgment. So elaters, things that cause elation, compulsive behavior that gives people pleasure, even when they know it's not good for them. The problem is that you keep doing the pleasurable behavior past the point where it's good for you. Eventually, we have consequences that give us pain. So maybe a piece of pizza would be amazing if we just had one bite. But we love it so much, it gives us so much pleasure that we just keep eating it until we feel too full, our stomachs hurt, or we start to gain weight. And that's the downside to elaters. So how can you tell if it's an addiction or if it's an elater? With an addiction, it's driven by our need to cope or compensate or overcome some kind of a pain. So it's driven by negative reasons. An elater is driven by pleasure. And so it's more of a positive response to our lives at that time. So this is really the meat of this whole workout, and it is a workout. So I'm going to go through each step, and then I'm going to challenge you to just stop the video after we've gone through the whole thing and just look at each of these or take a picture of each of these and work them through that way. So if you realize it's an elater and not an addiction, this is how to manage this pattern. It may come as a craving, or it may come as kind of a habit. I enjoy movies best when I have a great big bucket of popcorn, and that gives me more of an elation or more of a pleasure feeling than if I'm just watching the movie by itself. So I may not have a craving at the time, but I really, really want to enjoy it better. So to have that elation, I got to buy the popcorn. That's sort of the thought process or the emotions behind it. So when you're feeling this way, you find the physical location of the feeling in your body. Sometimes it feels like hunger. If it feels like hunger, identify if it is really hunger or if it's heart hunger, mouth hunger, head hunger, etc. It might also feel like excitement, a little bit like fear. If it's fear, it might be addiction. But if it's nervous excitement, sometimes that's elation as well. Once you've found the location, figure out where the source of that feeling is coming from. Is it from stress and anger and fear that you're needing to cope with using food? Or is it from wanting to relieve yourself from boredom? Well, that's a big one. Give yourself a reward or continue a habit that you enjoy. So if it's from the first group, it's probably addiction. If it's from the second group, that's probably elation. In step 4, if it's an elater, name it. I gave the example, I baked cookies and I ate too many because they smelled so good. Another one, I finished up that really boring job at work, so I swung by Starbucks for a drink and a Danish as a reward. Those are often elations that we do without even really thinking. Step 5, think of what triggered your elater pattern and name the triggers out loud or write them down and find as many as you can. For example, I got triggered by the cookie smell, or I got triggered by the fact that I deserve a reward, I'm entitled. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest on the scale, how much pleasure did the trigger give you? You want to rate that. So with my cookie example, maybe eating the cookies gave me a 9 because I just had to respond to that smell. How many consequences did you experience because of the behavior? For example, with the cookie, I felt guilty, or I gained weight, or I felt really gross because I had too much sugar after it was over. Find as many of those as you can. So you're listing the good stuff that came out of it, the triggers, and then also the bad stuff. And then the next thing you want to do is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, how much pain did the elater give you? And maybe on my scale, the elater gave me a 7, maybe a 6, because I was feeling guilty and kind of gross. But man, I sure did love that cookie. So that cookie was at a 9. With these patterns, the pleasure will always be higher than the consequences, and that's why we do it. If my consequences were a 9 and my pleasure was a 7, I probably wouldn't do it. So this is how we get through this. This is how we restructure our elators. You locate in your body where you're feeling the elation, and sometimes just identifying it will help that trigger go down. So maybe my 9 is now at an 8. And then using EFT, which I'm going to give you that in the next slide, focus on the feeling and do at least 2 rounds of tapping. And then check your numbers for pleasure and pain until the pleasure number decreases at least 2 points under the pain number. So with EFT, we're able to just kind of rewire the feelings and the circuitry enough that our bodies and our minds take control of the trigger and the craving. And then think of something else that would give you pleasure and is healthier for you. If we don't replace it, we're likely to go back to it. So in my cookie example again, something that would give me pleasure would be to box up the cookies and take them over to my neighbor's house. I would really enjoy doing that for them, and I would enjoy getting them out of my house, to be honest. So if I have in mind, when I get the smell, when I get the trigger, I am going to box these up, I'm going to give them to the neighbor, and I'm going to feel really good about that, because I love to bake and I love to eat, but I don't think that's a very healthy pattern. But if I love to bake and give them to the neighbor, then that would feel really good. So as I think about doing that new behavior, you see that picture with the woman holding her head, that's called frontal occipital holding. And you put one hand on the back of your head, kind of on the curve, and one hand on the front on your forehead. And you just imagine yourself doing that new behavior and breathe. And it helps relax you, and it helps you move that new learning, that new intention to do something different into more of a long-term memory. And so that's how you control this elator pattern. Let's look at how to do EFT. And if you've watched some of these videos, you know how to do this already. And you can use it for cravings, you can use it for anxiety. It's kind of magic, and it's really, really weird looking. So I just want to explain that to you, but it combines CBT with acupuncture points, and it gives powerful results. So I'm going to walk you through it for the first time, and then you can practice it on your own. So locate the feeling of discomfort in your body. It might be the craving, it might be that elation, that, oh, I want this, I deserve it, I need this. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is that feeling? 10 being really high, 1 being not at all. So take a minute to locate that. And then there's a point on your hand. It's up here. It's called the karate chop point right here. And you just tap on that and say out loud 3 times, I love and accept myself even though I feel this way. I love and accept myself even though I feel this way. I love and accept myself even though I feel this way. And then starting in the middle of your eyebrows, if they were to grow together, I like to just tap the whole thing and just tap and breathe and focus on the feeling. And then move to the outside of your eye. It's number 3 on this chart. And you say, I have this feeling. Then you move to under your eye, number 4 on the chart. Say, I have this feeling. And then move to under your nose, which is number 5 on the chart. I have this feeling. And then under your lower lip on your chin, I have this feeling. And then under your collarbone, it's number 7 on the chart. I have this feeling. And then under your arm, if you put your thumb in your armpit and you move down about 2 inches, there's a sore spot on your ribs. And you tap there, find that sore spot. I have this feeling. And then you tap the top of your head, number 9 on the chart. I have this feeling. And then you're going to start at number 2 again. And you're going to tap and you're going to feel the feeling and notice what changes it's made. And just say anything that comes to mind. Then move to the corners of your eye. Same thing, anything that comes to mind, say that out loud. And then under your eye, whatever comes to mind. And under your nose. Under your chin, whatever comes to mind. Under your collarbone, whatever comes to mind. That sore spot under your arm, whatever comes to mind. And then the top of your head, say whatever comes to mind. And then just stop tapping and take a deep breath. And notice what's happened with that feeling. If you were to give it a number now between 1 and 10, what number would you give it? And is that number below the consequences? Or is it above the consequences of doing the behavior? And if that elation is still above the consequences, do another round of tapping. And then if it's below by 2 points, then you're done. Then you've been able to do the pattern, finish it, and you're done with it. And then you'll want to think of, what am I going to do instead? And you'll do the FO holding and visualize yourself doing that. So that's your workout for today. I hope you enjoy it. Memorize this chart. Do it enough times that it becomes second nature to you, because it really is a game changer. And it really does work, as weird and strange as it is. Have a good day. Enjoy and practice with this. It really is a game changer for so many things. We'll see you next time at the gym.